Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 239, and today we're going to be doing battle with scouts. And so, before we dive into the video itself, if you're a daily follower, this video should be coming out on a Saturday. Feel free to go ahead and turn it off and turn on the world's coverage. This video will still be here, but the world's coverage being live will only be here for one day. And so please give that a view, a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever you do to appease the view counts of the Twitch world and the YouTube world. It really does give a nice boost to the game if you're able to follow and support the premiere event of the format. And so, with that out of the way, to come back to the actual deck here, Scouts, it's a deck that we love and enjoy, and I feel like it's gotten some really interesting power cards coming out of the new set, with the nerfs to the rallies in the previous set with the Golden Aegis nerf and the Relentless Pursuit nerf. It kind of put a damper onto Scouts, but then Riot brought us right back. And so the card we're going to be seeing a ton of these days and in the upcoming weeks is Champion Strength. If you've been following along with Worlds or following along with our videos here, this card is exceptionally strong. Now, I'm not immediately on the Champion Strength needs nerfed group. I think that we're still in this initial stage of the set to where people are just playing stats decks, right? You're playing Aatrox, which is just a big stats deck. The interactivity in the Aatrox decks is basically limited to the Cane Strike. And then if we're going to look towards the Kale decks, they're just stats decks as well, putting a bunch of stats on the board. Their interactivity is typically limited to the likes of things like Sunburst. And so not a ton of removal, not a ton of challengers, not a ton of ways to just kind of come in and clear out the boards. And so Champion Strength has a bit of power there. Also, not a lot of cards like Deny and Bandle City Deny and the likes running around to get the big tempo swings out of stopping an 8-cost spell. And so I do concede that it's exceptionally strong, but I feel like the meta hasn't quite adapted to the Champion Strength yet and dealing with its weaknesses, if you will. But with that in mind, the Champion Strength does have some kind of interesting things to it. The Scout ability is definitely strong on your turn, but an 8-mana rally on the opponent's turn isn't quite as spectacular. Just get that singular attack in. Your opponent is quite able to just block the units and prevent all the damage. And so this is kind of piece one to where I'm interested in Scouts, is we have the big collection of dudes that already have Scout. So if we're going to be Champion Strengthening on our opponent's turn, then we have a big pile of units that can attack twice between Quinn and all her friends, Genevieve over something like Cytherea, and then the 4-cost guy, the Island Navigator. And so this is kind of piece number one to the deck, is we have a lot of opportunities to get that double attack on both halves of the game, not just on our turn. The second piece of the puzzle here is Champion Strength is much better with 6 units on the board than it is with 3 units on the board. Should be fairly straightforward concept, but if you get to use all of those stats across a bigger collection of units, it's much better than not using it across a big selection of units. And so the Scouts deck is quite good at putting a bunch of width on the board between Mirai Warden, Quinn, and the Island Navigator, giving us all double summons. It's very easy to ensure that we have those full 6 units on the board for any time we play Champion Strength. And so with the kind of easy card out of the way, that brings us into the hot technology that we're bringing that I haven't seen a ton of these days, and that's the Eye of God. This is the new tentacle-based card coming out of the new set. It's, I guess, meant to be played with Alawi, but the first things that I start to think with this are, can we either play a Tentacles deck that doesn't involve Alawi? Like, I have no desire to play Alawi in a format full of Quietus, but can we look towards a deck that plays Eye of Nagakaboros and plays Tentacle Slam, looks to play Riptide Sermon, and then Eye of God is just a way to kind of get the tentacles going, get that value happening, but not playing the full champion package. And that's kind of neat, but the big thing with the Eye of God now is that this is an attack-based ability. And what if you get to attack multiple times in the same turn, right? And so if we load up a scout unit with the Eye of God, we get an attack, we get the spawn, and then we get to attack again and start swinging with that 4/4 tentacle right away. And so that kind of ties into everything else that we're already doing here, right? We're looking to have all of these scouts to tie in with the champions thing, ties in with Misfortune. We're playing the Ectra scouts in Genevieve. The Eye of God is admittedly a bit of a high roll kind of card, but it synergizes extremely well with everything that we're playing here. And so this is another new addition out of the new set that we haven't seen too much of, and I've actually been quite pleased with the Eye of God and the value that it gives us. The last card that brings some interesting space here is Heavy Metal. And so I suspect, as time goes on, we're basically going to play every single faction with Champion Strength. I think that it's just that strong at the current moment. We'll probably do all the exploring. And one of the big reasons to be playing Bilgewater is going to be Heavy Metal. With so many Aatrox decks running around right now, Aatrox appears to be the premier champion out of the new set and what we're going to be seeing the most of. The opportunities for 2-for-1s off of Heavy Metal is extremely crushing for the opposing decks. And then even if it's just destroying an equipment, that's still a pretty good deal. And now that we have these Aatrox decks bringing 8 and 9 and 10 equipment, having access to Heavy Metal and getting those 2-for-1s in the early game can be exceptionally strong. And so we get a little bit extra flavor in this current Champion Strength build by jumping into jumping into Bilgewater. And so that's the deck. That's who we're doing battle with today. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to pay the pay-to-win price, and we're paying up. We're going to do it on the Champion Strength today. We usually don't pay up on the Epics, but I feel like we're going to be playing this one so frequently that we ought to just go ahead and pay off here. Who's even in this? Jarvan and Galio? Is that Garen on the right? Who's that in the middle? I don't know. Hang on. Let's pull it up. Who the fuck is that? Demacia Girl Champion? Hang on. Let me see if I can figure that out real quick. We got the Demacia pulled up already. It's not Fiora, is it? Is that Fiora? I guess Fiora is the one that would make sense. And so I guess it's Fiora. But nonetheless, aside, the pay-to-win price has been paid. I'm ready for battle. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Where are we at? Versus player. Surprise tentacles. Here we go. So yeah, this is good stuff. Good stuff. We'll hopefully get some big surprise plays on our opponents today with the heavy metals and the likes of the likes of the Eye of Nagakaboros thing coming through. And so, reasonable enough start here. The Teemo Jinx deck should be another Champion Strength deck, and so we have a little bit of interactivity here in the early game, but I'm going to get rid of the Island Navigator, a little bit too expensive. But see, this is what you don't see a ton of in terms of the Champion Strength decks, right? They tend to just play a bunch of shitty units like Acorn and not have ways to like protect them or get them off of the board. As to where playing scouts, we have access to the various challengers and the heavy metals to come in and try and clear some of this out. Now with our double misfortune, could potentially clear out the Acorns and the daring Poros of the world with the flip and make it rain. All right, he's bringing in the squad. This is fine. We can most certainly clear out as much board here as we can, and then we still have the Broadwing on board with our Misfortune next turn to get the free takedown on Acorn. The Eye of God turning up. Not the best matchup for it here. This isn't a super value-centric matchup, but still gives us a little bit of late game that we wouldn't necessarily have. But see, this game is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of playing against the Aatrox decks, to where if you look at this, like he hasn't done anything particularly compelling in terms of protecting his units. If he wants to play a Champion Strength next turn, it would be for like 2 or 3 dudes. Having this ability to come in and take down a lot of his plays gives us a good spot to really just attack their strategy. All right, going to go ahead and drop a heavy metal. We're probably not going to find a better target than one of these daring Poros, so try and get a takedown now. I'd feel a little bit better if we still had a challenger, right? We can pretty much ignore our attacks next turn, which is a little frightening in terms of the Champion Strength, but we're doing what we can. What do we got? A little bit of Quinn Bird. All right. Sounds good to me. Perfect draw, especially if he doesn't have a way to interact with what we're doing. I'm going to say whatever this spell is, probably should have done it before combat. What is this? Deal 1 to all enemies. Okay. Well, at least he still loses his Poro. So it is like a little worrisome next turn. I would not be surprised to see him champion strength, right? He's getting pretty built up into having the 8-mana spell, but I mean, look at this. We've really worn down his board here. It's not going to be a particularly strong one. He only has 9 mana at this point, so he's just going to be looking to add one play. So he can double strike here. It looks like he's really pondering the situation. Oh, he discarded a champion strength there. Nice. We're going to get all the sweet plays going on next turn. So I'm going to go ahead and load it all up. We'll play the Inspired Light first. If he has a way to kill our Quinn, I'd like to find out before we look to spend things like the Eye of God. Oh shit, no, we gotta save our mana next turn for the champion strength. A little bit of a whoopsies, but I think this is still okay. Does protect all of our dudes from mystic shots now. All right, here comes the team. GG. Well done, champion strength. All right, all right. Good stuff. I feel like that it explained a lot of my thoughts and feelings about champion strength, right? If you're just out here playing Aatrox, your opponent's playing Rando Elusive's deck, the best interactivity you have is a 4-cost single strike card. You're going to get smoked by that champion strength. But as we come out here with some removals and some challengers and the like, you have some real game in shutting down their game plan. All right, so not a lot of great heavy metal targets in the Katarina Gwen deck, so we can go ahead and mulligan that one away. Look for another cheaper play out here. The Eye of God turns up. This is where things get kind of interesting in that, do we want to skip on playing the Broadwing? Because it's not particularly strong right here, right? If we play the Broadwing, it's just either going to trade with the Boisterous Host or gonna get shrunken up or whatever. It's not that strong, but let's go for the highlight reel, okay? Let's go for the big ones. F. That's a lot of cards. Fine, dude. Fine. I'm trying to do cool stuff out here. And you're just taking it away. Maybe we just look to not play Misfortune. I'm looking to get the Eye of God loaded up on a Island Navigator, is what this turn is amounting to. But all right. Fine, dude. He's bringing in the Vile Feasts. Okay. All right. We're still gonna play. We're gonna go dirty here and see if we can't see if we get the eyes going. I wanna show it off once. Make sure we get this in before the games are done. All right. Sorry, Misfortune. You are admittedly probably the proper play here. If he has a Gwen, this is going to be a real problem. But, lame, dude. Lame. Should have known we were going to run into some lame-o out here. Let's see what happens. I'm curious if he even brings in a block. Ooh, he brings in the host. Okay. All right, we can get started. We can do a bit now. I'm gonna bring the Eye of God onto the Broadwing and hook in the Spiderling. Not irrelevant, though. Gives us that blocker for next turn. Right? The equipment comes back to our hand. We'll get some opportunities to use it a little bit later. Probably, I mean, the way that this game is gone, 2 turns from now, we can look to play Misfortune next turn, then play Genevieve 2 turns from now and load her up with the Eye of God. Unfortunately, need to block this rear guard, but, gives us some opportunities out there. Came in and prevented about 500,000 damage. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Looking for trouble? It found you. Never going to fail.
All right. Katarina causing problems. Not a lot we can do about that. Oh man, are you gonna have the flock as well?
It's just a nick.
Okay.
To the point.
Maybe we should have just blocked. We're so close to just dying to Blade's Edges now, but we gotta get the cool plays in here at some point. So that time is now.
Follow my lead.
Most certainly losing this misfortune to a ravenous flock, though. We're so close to the lethal that he would have just sent it to face if he didn't have the flock. Well, he should have done it before this point if he was going to, but all right. But see, this does show some of the big power that we're going to have out of the tentacles here. Why are you doing things like this, man? As we do get to freshly attack with the tentacle and have it grow in strength with that big scout attack. All right, well. Opponent seems intent on throwing this one away, so we might have some opportunities for recovery here. I don't think he quite did the mathematics on Genevieve plus the misfortune love tap giving that extra point of damage.
Got a lizard and a shovel.
All right, block. Oh, are you kidding me? All right. Well, we won't complain too much about that one, given our strategy to just show off some of the things the deck could do. It's a little frustrating to see it go down like that, but you know what they say. It is what it is. All right, though. We can focus in on the proper play now, given that we got to show off the champion strength in game 1. The tentacle card with scouts in game 2. Good stuff there. But, I mean, you can see with the tentacle thing, it does have the opportunities for a lot of value, especially in these games you like run out of stuff to do, not in the sense that you have too many, don't have any cards in hand, but in the sense that your board is completely full. And so if you're able to just replay that equipment and then have the equipment grow a unit that already exists on the board, it gives you some good opportunities to continue to grow the board without losing units. A lot of what Inspired Light does is similar. All right, so no heavy metals just yet. We've cycled away all of our zaps because he's just a little bit too expensive, but you can imagine that Zap is pretty good at drawing the expensive equipments. See, this is where we're looking for those gigantic 2-for-1s. If we're able to blow up both the Bakai and the equipment, it's a pretty good deal. We're gonna have to just start attacking around it now. All right. Well, if we're gonna go to www.greedy.com, then we're just gonna fill out the board and drop an Inspired Light. Ooh. Ooh, though the heavy metal turns up. Lots of opportunities on this turn now. Let's just start in with it and see what happens. There's still a chance that we might want to come in and play the Inspired Light this turn. We could play the Inspired Light, the Eye of God, on a non-scout unit. You're still allowed to do that. and potentially just come in for a ton of damage. We have to worry a little bit next turn about him dropping in Kane. Kane is going to be problematic for our board, but one thing at a time. Dark and Bloodletter, sure. So we'll hook this guy out of combat with the Broadwing. Oh shit, we don't even have Challenger. I think it's okay. He might still block the biggest unit, but I was going to say, if we leave the Cultist with 1 health, we can take it down in the future with the Love Tap out of Misfortune. Okay. And a Steel Tempest. Sure. We still got our miniature value out of the Mirai Warden. Felt very nice. Very nice feeling. Here comes a Kane. Yeah, he's going to cause some problems. I'm curious if he actually sends Kane into the Mirai Warden. That would be fairly decent for us if we get to re-equip the eye onto a scout. Ooh, thank you. He said, please do. Please let me re-equip that. All right, but this is getting into these must-win turns against this deck as he drops Aatrox and starts to get strikes and all the heals and everything. We really come in and start to struggle at that point. And so we'll have to see if he has the Aatrox here or not. He's played. Yeah, he's got it. I'm gonna say, I don't remember if Kane counts, but this is the problems with these style of decks. We fell behind just a little bit too much. Okay, GG. But that's traditionally been a kind of real problem for decks like Scouts, are the ones that just put a bunch of stats on the board. We could have taken that one down with a Champion Strength, but the collection of stats we had right there were not quite enough. All right. Jinx Teemo again. Another round of the Champion Strength. See what happens. Not a bad start. I'm not completely sold on some of the numbers in this deck. We can definitely bring in a Fleet Feather Tracker now, but I'm currently playing the 3 Shell Shockers, 2 Fleet Feather Trackers. That gives us a bit of opportunity to generate that extra mana as we're out here trying to play Eye of Gods and some of these spells. But if we're going to start seeing a bunch of Boom Baboon decks, then we'd certainly want to upgrade to more Fleet Feather Trackers. And then I'm not entirely sold on the Durandi Sculptors as well. You still need to have a certain amount of early game plays, which the Durandi Sculptor provides. But this isn't a real like back and forth combat oriented kind of format to where those stat bonuses are quite strong. So definitely some room for improvement here, but pretty happy with the core. Oh, getting Teemo blasted right away. See if he's got that Get Excited. If he doesn't have the Get Excited for Misfortune, this game should be over. All right, good stuff there. Building up to a really nice Champion Strength on the next turn. We could look to play the Island Navigator, but if we're wanting to roll into turn 5, we need to 3-bank this turn for the Champion Strength, and it looks like the Shell Shockers will really help in that sense. All right. You did your thing. Now I shall do mine. Let's boom him. But, I mean, if you want to kind of stop and consider how this game went, we interacted with 2 of his units, got 2 kills in the early game. He's just now bringing his interactivity in, which It's very surprising that he even has any. But the strategy and idea that I'm trying to bring forth with this deck is really showing itself, right? We got 2 additional units on the board in the face of him having exactly 3. So. All right, he gets 2 takedowns. We get a big attack in, though. Let's see what that does for us. Death Rocket, you got it. All right, lethal looking attack number 1 coming at you. He's going to lose his Jinx this round, and so we should be pretty well set here. GG. Market a W, FTP bust. But yeah, all these champion strengths, it makes me a little sad as we are in the timing of Worlds. As we played a bunch of Expedition, the only like current crop of top NA players we ever saw in the lands of Expedition was What Am I? And What Am I was out here doing battle in the Worlds. Brought the triple champion strength lineup, which I wholeheartedly approve of, but fell short of making the top cut into day 2 of Worlds, and so a little bit of sad. He's the one I like to cheer for in terms of nobody really came out and played a lot of Expedition back in the old days, and so having a familiar face in the upper echelons of gameplay was kind of nice, but you know. I think it's probably still a win to say that you got so far. I know that when we are like doing battle up at those upper echelons of the game, the top 16 in the world coming in and battling with each other, it's definitely feels like a failure if you don't take home the trophy. But it is quite the massive accomplishment nonetheless. All right, fairly awkward this game. This is not the kind of start you're looking for against the Sun Disk. You know, we can start dropping dudes now that it's here on turn 3, but not having anything on turn 1 or turn 2 is a bit of a disaster. We do have the ultimate equalizer, though, in the champion strength, and we do have a big old selection of scout units in hand, and so if we need to shore it up on our opponent's turn, we have some opportunities in that space. So not today, bro. A Singleton Vanguard Sergeant here and ready for battle. He says, I'll take the protections, please. He's not got to be ready for too much battle on the following turn, but that's okay. As long as we kind of get ourselves built up to having a 6-wide board, then we should be good, knowing that we have the champion strength here.
No prey, no pay.
Bit unfortunate space. Like I wish we were in the spot to where we could just pass and not attack here, but opponent getting a 3-bank out of this turn feels like a win for them. And so I'm looking to still attack here with Misfortune. I don't think we want to lose our Vanguard Sergeant, but the interactivity coming out of the Sun Disk deck, well, the Endless Devout changes things. It's going to say you typically aren't worried about cards like Shapestone coming out of this deck, right? They're not going to have a lot of combat tricks to throw at you. And so I felt like we could probably get out of that turn with a safe combat, but what? Interesting. Okay. I was surprised to see him just get that attack. Taking down our unit isn't very high value. especially after he got the 2 Roiling Sands on board. Now, he could be coming at us with the likes of a Xerath next turn, which would be, slightly problematic, but at least as far as this board goes, I'm pretty happy with how things are looking. And what I think we're going to want to do here, especially with this dum-dum turning up, is we can heavy metal the Endless Devout, and then we're going to have some really good challenges next turn. It's a slight unfortunate to give this thing, give the opponent the Sarcophagus, but this is just such a boom of a turn with Genevieve now getting a free hook into the Devout, Genevieve getting a free hook into the Rock Bear Shepherd. We just get to full clear this dude's board and really slam in. Nothing wrong with slamming, bro. Says, I wish I had better handled those vulnerables. All right, good stuff.
These woods belong to us.
All right, battle friends. You could the thing that I guess you could look to have combat here with would be like a quicksand, but quicksand does fuck all on this board, right? We're taking down the Sarcophagus. It's not. I guess you could make Genevieve a 1/4. Like, okay, but this is just a pretty nice turnaround given how our start was this game. All right, what you got for us, Radish? Looked like you were digging. It's not really a place you want to be dropping Preservariums, and so you can start to pull in a nice comeback, right? If he, say, has a Rite of Xerath, whatever the 4 damage thing is called, killing off the Sarcophagus, I guess removing Genevieve or removing Misfortune and having the dude behind. I guess not horrible, but still feeling pretty decent, knowing that we can cycle back. We don't need to bank any mana coming into turn 8, and then we can also fairly easily refill on the following turn with the Quinn in hand and a bunch of dudes. All right, so that's a winning combat. I like it. You have vulnerable, so we might as well get you into combat. Same with Quinn, and I think we're okay to just attack with Misfortune as well. If he wants to leave the Quinn back, it's okay. Just get all this nonsense out of here. The going is good when you're like, man, I don't even really need to champion strength. I've got all these scout units as it is. We've got the 4 Demacia in hand. We can get away without playing the big champion strength. So I don't think it's quite going to be the case here, but some opportunity. Shadow Fiend, not exactly what we were looking for. Show me that movie, bruh. I guess the thing that we have to ask ourselves, we've been like really hype about this champion strength, but what happens if opponent has a Rite of Negation next turn? Do we still have problems and troubles? I mean, I don't think so. He can't answer our Quinn this turn. We still have some decent attacks. Maybe getting rid of our Misfortune was a little greedy in that sense. I just assume that we have the big card in hand. It's immediately going to win us the game. But maybe giving up on Misfortune was a little bit too greedy. All right, let's see what happens. You got that Rite of Negation? It's going to be a very popular card in the upcoming days. Rite of Negation and Vandal City, Memory Lapse, Deny. Like after playing with this deck in my practice games and these games, it was like the next thing I immediately thought of was like, okay, how do we just play this card with deny? How do we make the Ionia version of this deck so that we have a little bit of counterplay in the mirror? And I haven't got there yet, but it was a worthwhile endeavor in thinking about.
Shurima, your emperor has returned.
Our city is in your care, and you in ours.
Just like hunting thresher geese. For the tribe!
All right, he does have the trade onto the Marai Warden with the Grumpy Rock Bear, but I mean, okay, I think that's fine. We still have this very robust board after the fact if he takes the trade. I guess he can trade onto the Durandi Sculptor as well. Missed that one out here on the left. Blocks Quinn, interesting. And the next attack will be a flip for Quinn, and so if he's just got one dude behind, the Quinn bird's gonna come to the party and get a hook in the combat, so... Seems pretty good. Sure. Seems like he... I'm not sure in this space, right? You don't know what the opponent has, but you do have the opportunity there to, like, preemptively quicksand. So he could have, say, put a -1 onto Genevieve and a -1 onto something else to take the scout away. So we don't get to attack with nearly as much stuff. But I was going to say it's probably going to just be a KO anyways. And it was. We got it. GG. Premium champion strength coming in.
For now.
Felt good. All right, next battle. Whew. The Kane Aatrox again. Give it another shot. This is one of these deals like historically, the real problems with scouts was Vayne. The Vayne versions of these decks, just them having bigger units than you and them having access to things like Fish Fight, caused a lot of problems. And that still holds true. Like the Vayne Aatrox deck is a bit of a nightmare, but I think this one is a little bit more manageable. Like in playing all of these heavy metals, which we haven't had too much of today. The thing that was like really annoying and frustrating is you're like, okay, well I'm ready to deal with the opposing unit. I'm gonna get my heavy metal going, and then it's just like the opponent goes, LOL, it's the one drop that gets tough. And so at those times it does feel appropriate to actually come in and remove the tough unit, but or I'm sorry, to just heavy metal away the equipment off of the tough unit, but it's just like another thing that brings a collection of problems with these decks. This is another fantastic heavy metal target in the Blooming Cultist. Like you can see like how fantastic this turn would have been if we just didn't play Misfortune. We put the Eye of God onto something and then heavy metaled away his equipment. Like it's just so much opportunity for strength. We haven't picked it up. But this is another one of those interesting sequences to where if we manage to pick up a Zap, having that 1 mana from the Shell Shocker does let us play the heavy metal on turn 4 with the Zap Attune as well, and so lots of power that can come out of these things. There's the heavy metal. I don't think it's entirely too late if we want to hit the Cultist, but I was like leaning a little bit more here towards Quinn. But if it really comes down to it this turn, we could just say heavy metal the Island Navigator, or I'm sorry, heavy metal the Cultist, put the Eye of God onto the Navigator. If the Navigator gets killed, then we can still follow up afterwards. I think that's okay. He's gonna play Kane this turn, right? Kane is another potential to hit with the heavy metal. Do we want to change our story now? I don't think so. I think we're still stuck getting into combat with these things. Well, maybe we do. If he wants to trade with the Blooming Cultist onto the Island Navigator, or trade with anything onto the Island Navigator, I think I'm okay with it. Well, I generated it. I was like, what the fuck is this guy getting Make It Rains from? Okay. And another one. Must be nice. Okay. Alright, well, here come the scouts.
To keep us moving.
A new energy source? This is darken power.
Interesting, he doesn't make us replay the equipment. Alright, well, here comes the big tentacles.
Something to keep us moving.
Gotta leave Misfortune at home. We've got this, about to have these scout attacks in the upcoming turns.
Turn me to the sea.
Alright. Here we go, though. Here's what everybody wants to see. They don't care about the videos so much. We got a kitty. It's a different one. She says, what up? She says, I'm the one whose butt typically stinks. So, she's here to share that with everyone. Alright, so we have two options on this turn, right? We're like 100% going to play Champion Strength next turn. But on this turn, we could play Quinn. Well, we can still... I think this is okay.
Demacian needs
I was trying to think if we wanted to play the Mirai Warden along with the Eye of God instead of playing Quinn. But I think this is fine. He can't lethal us with the dudes he has on board right now. And then coming into next turn, we can still just play Eye of God, right? We've got 7 mana plus a 1 bank. That gets us to 8. Alright. Do we want to put it on our worst unit? You could say, yo dog, I heard you like to spawn, so I gave you a spawn to spawn so your spawns can spawn. Something like that. I think we put it on our worst one. You have to worry about him having an additional strike in his hand this turn. That's where the real problem is going to be. We can deal with the Aatrox, but it's just a matter of if he has a strike card in hand. Ooh. Okay, okay.
The bigger the hunt, the better the trophy.
scouting ahead.
And do we ever just attack with Misfortune as well? She's gonna flip on this attack, right?
Time for violence.
Probably do. Alright.
No regrets.
Give me them big level ups. Give me them flips. Okay. Blocks are still atrociously bad. He can get some strikes in here, right? Oh no, he can really only just strike with Aatrox, right? All these other units are going to die to Misfortune and not give him the heals. LOL. We also get a fresh attack with the Tentacle. He'll get an additional +2 when he attacks this round as well. Good stuff. Very fun deck, very enjoyable. Drop in a little cupcake. See how that feels. Just a little bit of cupcake. Sure. GG. And so I don't want it to make it sound like that's a good matchup. It's certainly winnable, but their stats tend to be better than ours. They have some problem cards that they can bring in, but I think that also showcases like a lot of why we see Champion Strength as being a good card, right? It's objectively a good card, yes, but so much of this format is centered around Aatrox and just playing a bunch of stats and not doing anything. And so, at what point did our opponent come in and interact with anything that we were doing? They didn't, right? They played a Make It Rain off of a giant stat dude. We did some attacking into like his tough guys and stuff, but opponent did not do anything that game to directly interact with our units until the last turn of the game when they played the Frostbite thing. And so, like that's just the build up to the Champion Strength, right? And that if you're not going to do anything to like stop my game plan is more powerful than yours. And so the flip side of that and why they get to bring us problems is that you get to just like magically draw Aatrox to where we can't just magically draw we can't magically draw Champion Strength by playing 3 scouts or something, right? They just get to do what their deck naturally does and have Aatrox turn up, and so he's a little bit more frequent. We're not going to have as much opportunity for success in these games to where we don't draw our big finisher. But you could see how fantastic in that game that Heavy Metal was going to be, right? Heavy Metal is so much stronger against the Aatrox Kane deck than it is against the Vayne one. Right, because the early Vayne plays, there's like the wolf that naturally has 3 health. There's the 1-drop guy that the 1-drop guy that gets tough. That just the Heavy Metal almost functions only as equipment removal against that deck. But not the strongest of starts. I'm happy enough to start with Heavy Metal against this thing. It's just like such a strong 2-for-1 in the early game when they drop a cultist and then they put an equipment on it and then we get to blow up all their mana with the Heavy Metal. It's quite strong, right? So if he puts a 2-cost equipment on his friend here next turn and then we get to hit it with the Heavy Metal, so nice. So I'm still going to lead out with the Mirai Warden. Like, we know that he's picked up, well, he's probably picked up an equipment, but he could have picked up an Aatrox or something else. But, ooh, things change. Times change, right? See if he brings in that equipment and we get to do the good stuff. We do. We do. And then a reasonable space with this curve as well, right? If we want to look towards next turn, we can play the Mirai Warden and bank 1. On the following turn, we can play Zap. And then we have the opportunities to draw either Heavy Metal, Inspired Light, Sharp Sight, all which are fine, or we can drop in the Eye of God, which is, you know, preferably on a scout unit, but it is very serviceable on Zap. Sharp Sight. Okay. We can come in and do that combat thing if we have to. Do we even want to? Would we rather just hit with I mean, I think I'm kind of on board with just loading up the Zap. We'll still get involved in combat this turn, but like his next like big play is going to be Kane. This is interesting. I wonder if if he has the combat trick, it's okay. That was a very strange play. Like, it feels like a turn where it would have been very good to just bank 3 mana or wait on the combat and play the cultist after. Very surprised to see it come in.
The child is gone.
But right now we have both the Sharp Sight and the Inspired Light to help protect us against Kane. I think we let him just get the strike in this turn. Then are we going to have space on our board we can just throw away the Dragon Chow? Yeah, it's okay. All right, let's see what turns up. Another Inspired Light. So it's like, I definitely want to play Eye of God this turn. We're definitely going to play one Inspired Light. If we're going to play all these things that just take spell mana, we can, of course, add Shell Shocker as well. I guess we'll get to find out now if opponent's about to drop a Aatrox on us. Doesn't have it. All right, let's get inspired. Dang, I was gonna, like, if this one got to resolve, I was gonna say we can double Inspired Light and then look to hook down Kane with the Sharp Sight. But the strike there was pretty good. Now our friendly Quinn in hand is going to be a little bit too small. Our Quinn bird. I'm curious if he ever blocks Quinn with Rast. Right, that's what a lot of this turn would actually come down to. We probably just have to stop here. If he has another one-mana combat trick, it's kind of problematic.
Let them reinforce.
Okay. I was going to say, the other kind of interesting thing we could have looked to have done here was if he just put this block forward, we could have followed up with the Quinn bird and then sent the Quinn bird into Rast to get the kill. But without him, as it stands right here, he was just a little bit too big.
For the tribe! Patience makes perfect.
Interesting. He snapped off the block onto the tentacle. You just have another Kane in hand.
I will take this power in my
He must.
name.
He must. Alright. We're pretty far behind now. It's going to bring that World Ender on us next turn. God, we have to even block the Aatrox? Yeah, we're probably just dead here. I don't think we're going to get out of this one even with a champion strength. That Kane was just too good. Alright, GG. Ooh, just a little bit odd with the mana. I mean, I guess we could have... Well, it's tough. It's like we could have looked to have just not played the tentacle equipment there and not have the guy grow. But maybe that's where the mistake was, and we should have just given up on our Quinn to grow the tentacle and then just have the giant dude on board, the guy that's bigger than Aatrox, and then we would have had another Quinn in hand for the following turn. That's probably the way that we should have gone about that. It's still a tough match. Tough stuff. Needed just a little bit more. All right. Final battle up against Gwen Katarina. Exciting stuff. Oh, I meant to mention, if you enjoy the Path of Champions stuff that we do, I don't spend a lot of effort in kind of like advertising it. I clicked off the thing to where when a video posts to YouTube, it gives a notification to everybody, since I want the kind of like main thing on the YouTube to be is the Battles with Bust series, and then the
Let the bloodshed begin.
The other stuff is just kind of a side project kind of thing in terms of what the Path of Champion stuff is. But I've started to do an Aatrox playthrough if that's something that you find interesting. If you'd like to follow along with that, it doesn't do the notifications, but I'll try to get through Aatrox over the next couple of weeks or so. All right, this is fine. Like it's a tough space to be in, and like I don't want to just give up on the Mirai Warden. Right, we can play the Warden, and it's just going to lose stuff to Blade's Edge. We don't really have a time to get Misfortune onto the board if we just drop Mirai Warden here. We fall pretty far behind, and so I felt like that was a reasonable enough space to just kind of go big, in the sense that if he doesn't have the Ravenous Flock to get the big takedown here, then we're still just in a pretty good spot. But reasonably powerful things we can do here. You can go, got this big old scout board. Got an Inspired Light in hand. We'll see how much we can just attack this with the scouts. We'll be taking 6 damage off Katarina this round. Might need to throw in a single block, but not excited about it. Yeah, he's going to be providing a lot of nonsense damage here. Okay. Yeah, separate Katarinas as well. He did not order that properly. So we have to gotta worry about the Death Lotus, I guess. Jesus, just have it all. Okay. Okie dokie. He's going to bring in Katarina. Not a lot we can do about it. We can play another Mirai Warden. Have the Inspired Light, but we have to give up so much here, right? We have to make a block, and he has a Blade's Edge. We're just going to fall really far behind with these.
It's just a nick.
Then we have to worry about the Katarinas coming down next turn. The Death Lotus in hand we weren't supposed to know about. Fairly awkward.
They're afraid. They should be.
You'll regret when I leave this.
All right, we can fall to 2. So at least, like, next... Oh, we do just... No, he only has 7 mana for next turn, right? So we can get these attacks in. He can't directly kill us with the Death Lotus. And then we can try an open attack on our following turn. Right, so he's got 7 mana. It's only good for 1 rally. Gotta block everything now, though.
You're easy to track. Turns keep me. Gotta go with the flow.
Let's go with the flow, Zap. We can do it. We can do it. It'd be sweet if we could double heavy metal this Katarina. That would be one way to try and chase down the victory. All right, are we gonna get there, fam? What do you think? Are we gonna do it? Sure. That does not feel like you stunned the proper unit. Why wouldn't you stun the Zap so then we have to block with both of our units that are presenting lethal?
Blood for Noxus.
We live here.
Why wouldn't you do that? All right, well, we got a shot. We got an opportunity. The potential for greatness is here. Really? So, I mean, we have to attack, right? Noxus Blast is a card. If we get blown up by Ravenous Flock number 2 and number 3, okay. But we can't actually play a card. If he has the opportunity to add Katarina, we just like fall to a whole host of other things. And all right, so GG's. Not a bad set of games. Not a bad set of games. We can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. And so again, this is one of those decks as to where it's always going to have a shot. It's always going to have an opportunity. I felt like towards the end of last season that Scouts was actually quite good. There was a it's just one of those decks that everybody kind of forgets about. I don't know if it's just kind of one of the deals as to where Scouts has been in the game for too long now, right? It's been in the game for almost 2 years, and people just don't want to play it anymore, or what the deal is. But it tends to kind of like sneak up on formats and be exceptionally strong. Now, is this going to be one to where it could do it? You know, maybe not. I do worry as we're in a format that has a lot of Vayne in it and a lot of Aatrox Kayn, that the deck is going to struggle. But it does seem to have a quite strong matchup against the remainder of the format. I do really like this idea of playing heavy metals. I like the interactivity we get out of this. And I feel like this is probably a pretty decent shell towards something that has a lot of opportunity and a lot of strength. Again, if you're, I think that the kind of fair question to ask is, how do we best use the champion strength in every faction? And carrying the champion strength into Bilgewater does give us the opportunity for these scout kind of plays, the opportunity for the Eye of God, and for heavy metal. And so it's pretty neat and interesting. I think that even if this isn't one of the stronger decks in the format, I think this speaks leagues about the current format that we're in, and a lot of the kind of thought processes you should go through in your deck building and in your deck selection, in the terms of how do I best combat champion strength, or how do I best attack these boards, or how do I best take advantage of the champion strength on my own, right? And a lot of that really involves just killing your opponent's units in the best ways that you can, and then playing multi-summons to take advantage of the champion strength. Like, I think that that's a pretty good and strong concept to come in and understand. And then also the kind of awareness that this is a kind of very stat-heavy, non-interactive style format, to where opponents are playing a lot of. We didn't see too much of it today, but there's a lot of Daybreak style decks with Kale, and then of course the Kayn style decks that are looking to just put stats on the board and hold down until turn 8 or turn 9 till they can play the World Ender and then hit you with 3 or 4 Darken. And so. Just, if your opponent's interactivity is limited to a 4-mana strike card, then you can probably come in and take advantage of that as well. And so, good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.